Hello, I'm Reverend Rick, and it is my honor to be with you today. We really hope that this video is a blessing to you. And if it is, please consider making a donation. People watch our videos locally when they cannot necessarily come to church throughout the United States and the world. So please join us and click the link below and make a donation. Thank you, and let this be a blessing to you.
Let's prepare ourselves as you put your hand over your eyes. I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
And over your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
Now you just put your hand over your heart and extend out your arms. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that freedom is your divine birthright. Freedom is your divine birthright. Freedom in your finances. Freedom in who you love and how you love. Freedom in your health. Freedom in where you live. Freedom in what job you have. Freedom now in whether you want to be male or female. Freedom is available to you because you are a divine emanation of the One. For every living soul. It's not just souls who did a good job on the planet and now they get freedom. Not just souls who are rich and who can buy a measure of freedom. Not souls who just went to college and studied freedom and now they get a measure of freedom. No, freedom is, for the divine freedom is available to every living soul on this planet. Well, that powerful statement, freedom is the divine birthright of every living soul on the planet, comes from this book called Science of Mind, written by Ernest Holmes. Science of Mind is the philosophy behind the Center for Spiritual Awareness. We are part of a denomination. CSA, Center for Spiritual Living, is part of a denomination of New Thought churches called Centers for Spiritual Living. They have a little bit of different name. The reason they have a different name is because we changed our name before they changed their name. Many of you are familiar with the term religious science. That's what we used to call ourselves. Well, we changed that because we kept getting mixed up with Scientology and religion and Christian Science, both fine ways of doing things, but we wanted our own identity. And so we called ourselves a center. We had a little contest, called ourselves a Center for Spiritual Awareness. A year later, the mothership changed their name from Religious Science to Centers for Spiritual Living. Why didn't we change with them? Because there's a fine New Thought church here in Sacramento area called the Spiritual Life Center, and it was just too close. We couldn't get our own identity because of that as well. So we stuck with the Center for Spiritual Awareness. We like the name, and actually we just liked it. Here's the thing. No matter what our name is, no matter what our parents' name is, we are not an anything goes church. We are a church that teaches non-negotiable spiritual truth. Now it's interesting. Yesterday, your board of trustees spent all day in a retreat, primarily for the purpose of figuring out how we can let people know out there that we're in here and we want them to visit with us and see if this is a fit for them. Because this philosophy is not a fit for everybody, but it is a liberating philosophy that could benefit a lot more people than know about us. We think we're actually the best kept secret in Sacramento. So you're going to hear more about what the board has come up with to help us figure out how to create more invitation to the church. But one of the things that we spent time looking at was, how do we talk about this church? What do we tell people that makes people understand that we're a little bit different than the church of their childhood? And so we talked about a lot of stuff, and one of the things that seemed to resonate with all of us was, we are a church that doesn't teach rules. But you know what? It's not true. We do teach rules. We do teach rules. We don't teach the kind of rules that says you can't smoke or you can't drink or you can't love somebody of the same sex, or, you know, women have to wear dresses and men wear suits and ties. Those aren't the kind of rules that we teach. But we do teach non-negotiable spiritual truths that you have to follow if you want success. Not because you're a bad person if you don't, but because you don't have the life that God sent you here to live if you don't. See, non-negotiable, if we understand them, if we can begin to really embrace these teachings of non-negotiable spiritual truths, they will set us free. Free from any worry. Free from any condition that has us bound up right now. These non-negotiable spiritual truths are actually the freedom, the road to freedom for us in our lives. They'll allow us to wake up every single morning in love and hope in our heart. Every single morning, waking up with love and hope in our heart. Not fear, not resistance, but love, and not just for ourselves, but for everybody on the planet, the people that we love and the people we don't even like. We'll begin to develop love and hope for all of those people as well. Well, we are at the first Sunday of every January, we go back to basics. We join religious science churches, science of mind churches, centers for spiritual living, all over the world in looking at the first 4 chapters of this book called Science of Mind, written by Ernest Holmes. Now, the interesting thing is this. This is a big old thick book. Ernest Holmes never met a word he didn't like, and he wanted you all to know that. But this is all the first 4 chapters are. That's it. You read these and you've got the whole philosophy. Everything else is beautiful poetry and some ideas that he has about the philosophy. But it's actually a very simple philosophy that we have. Today I want to talk about the first 4 chapters. The first chapter is this. It's called The Thing Itself. The first chapter is called The Thing Itself. And what that is for Ernest Holmes is a synonym for God. The thing itself. He sometimes called God the stuff. Why did he, it's kind of a disrespectful, I think, term to call God the thing itself or the stuff. Why did he do that? He did it because he wanted to remind us to divorce ourselves from our childhood notions of who God is. That some of us grew up with a sometimey God. Some of us grew up with a punishing God. He wanted us to know, once you begin to embrace the love and the spiritual principles and the spiritual truth of this philosophy, we need to let go of that. Not in hate, not in anger, but just gently release that whole idea in our life. That there is a sometimey God up there. So here's the problem though. The whole idea of the thing itself, the stuff, that doesn't work for me. I need a warmer experience and name for God. Something that has more emotion to it than the thing itself. So for me, and I offer this to you to check it out for yourself. And I have to train myself because, you know, I grew up Catholic, really Catholic. And so when you grow up really something, whether it's Baptist or Catholic or evangelical or whatever it is, that stuff has a grip on you. And you have to really work daily in order to be able to gently let it go. Not get mad. I don't say I'm a Reformed Catholic. I'm not a Reformed Catholic. I just gently let it go. I call God love and only love. That's my word for God. You can call it whatever you want. But for me, to have a word like that, I went to a recovery meeting once and I heard a guy talking about his higher power as big love. And whenever he would talk about his higher power, he'd say big love. I talked to Big Love last night. Or Big Love showed me the way. It actually was very helpful to me because it was something that divorced me from a God in the sky, but it was warm enough for me to actually embrace it in my life. So the first one is the thing itself, that's God, the first chapter, all about it. Second chapter is how it works. The short answer, the bullet answer of how it works, if you're taking notes this morning, is through me. That's how God works. God works through me. So I say this frequently in January. If you're waiting for Jesus or Buddha or Lao Tzu or anybody else to come and do it for you, grab a snack, because you're going to be there a while. It's going to be a time before you actually get any help. Now, the truth is, I actually learn a lot from Jesus and Buddha and Lao Tzu and others, so they can be my teachers, but they will not be my saviors in the way that we often think of savior. They're not going to come and whisk me out of my limited thinking. They're not going to come and whisk me out of my ridiculous decisions in my life. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to be able to teach me. See, we have to, must learn God's operating system. It's not a choice. If you want to have success, you have to learn God's operating system so we can do it for ourselves. See, God's operating system here is called spiritual principles. We need to learn spiritual principles, and that's why we have classes here. That's why we put so much emphasis on classes. You're not going to get it overnight. You have to learn spiritual principles, and then we have to teach ourselves to cooperate and be in harmony with spiritual principles. Because without learning and without being in harmony, we're not going to have success. But if we do, we will allow success in our lives. We will allow God's favor in our lives. We will allow victory in our lives every single time. Every time. Not just some of the time. So that should be good news for all of us, that we can learn it. See, Ernest Holmes, he said this, you have to not only learn spiritual principles and practice them, but you have to learn all of it. You can't just pick and choose what spiritual principles or what part of spiritual principles that you like the most. So an example I often use, if you want the color amber, you have to mix red, yellow, and blue. If you don't mix red, yellow, and blue, you will not get amber. You might get another color that's beautiful, but you will not get amber. If you want prosperity in your life, you're going to have to do more than tithe and clean out your closets. You're going to have to understand that God is your source. Learn to forgive. Have gratitude daily in your life. And more things than that even. See, we have to do all of the things in order to be able to have the success that we want in our life. In order to open the faucet. Now look, cleaning out your closets and tithing, it's going to get you here. But it won't start the gusher. It won't bring the abundance in the flow that you want it and deserve it to be in your life. It'll help. What we want you to do is to begin to help you learn all of the spiritual principles in all of the way that they are. Now the good news is, when we align ourselves with spiritual principles, we are doing a science. Ernest Holmes called this the science of mind. He could have called it, I wish he would have called it, the science of God. And what he was telling us when he called it the science is that this is material that's learnable, provable, and repeatable. That's what scientists look for when they're doing an experiment. They look for things that are learnable, provable, and repeatable. We can do that with spiritual principles in our lives. And truthfully, that news alone should fill up these seats 5 times every Sunday morning. Amen. Because that's what we teach. That's what we teach, is how to know God's laws and how to use them. You want more creativity in your life? It's on the table. You want more perseverance in your life that allows you to know that delay is not denial for your joy? That's on the table. It's all on the table. It's unformed until it gets to your mind. God's power, God's energy is unformed until it gets to your mind. But here's the thing. We have to begin to have a desire that's strong enough to be able to make this work in our life. You know, whatever we have in our mind is the container that the energy comes into. If you don't have a container for the energy to come into, it can't come in and make manifest that which you want. So in this church, what we say is that we want everybody to have a desire. Now, I've gotten too far ahead of myself, so I'm going to back up. If what you're feeling right now, when we talk about this idea of making manifest, if what you're feeling, anybody in this church, you want to manifest something, you want to manifest better health, you want to manifest a new car, you want to manifest a PhD, whatever it is you want to manifest, and you're not manifesting it, and you're feeling guilty over it, you're feeling shame over it, you're missing the mark. You're missing the mark, and we have done a disservice to you. What we want you to know is that all of the, so you have a desire, and you think, okay, well, I have this desire. Why isn't it becoming manifest? What's happening? Why am I blocking it? What am I doing? And we begin to feel guilty about it. We feel bad about ourselves about it. If we will sort of let that go and begin to just focus on what it is that our desire is in our life, and to know that when things don't come, it's because of our belief system. People say, well, why? I'm praying so hard. Why isn't it coming true for me? I'm wishing so hard. I want it. Why isn't it coming true for me? It's not coming true for us when we're wishing or when we're praying. It's only coming true for us when we believe it. Our beliefs are what's keeping our good coming from us. And most of the beliefs that you and I have on this planet are inherited beliefs. We have these beliefs because of who we grew up with. Our ancestors, not because they're mean, they had them given to them. Our ancestors gave us beliefs, and we started to buy into them. A lot of people in this room, myself included, we go through those periods of thinking we're not enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not smart enough, we're not rich enough, we're not whatever enough. Those are inherited beliefs. We don't have to act on those beliefs. We can give them back. Now, I could stand here and say, those beliefs are not your fault, and I would be right. But I wouldn't be doing you any favors. Because if what you really want to do is be mad at somebody for giving you your belief, you're just delaying your good. You're just delaying your journey into where you need to be in this life. So I encourage everybody, just give them back. Don't get mad at it. Don't waste time getting mad. If really what you want to do is get mad, God's not going to be upset with you. You want to spend a year, 2 months, 6 months, 8 years being mad at somebody for giving you a limited belief. And I know people who are like that, who spent years being mad at parents, spent years being mad at somebody, first husbands, first wives, for giving them inherit. Don't waste your time. Let it go. Because you're not hurting them. You're only hurting yourself in your life. Do you want a blessing, or do you want somebody to be mad at? We can let go of poverty and loneliness and being stuck and thinking we can never catch a break. Give it back to your ancestor. Let them have it. So the first one is the thing itself. The second one is how it works. It works through us in our life. The third one is what it does. What it does. That's the name of the chapter. When he talks about it, what it does, he's simply talking about God. What does God do? God does one thing, and that's loves. That's what God does. God puts all of that creative energy available to you. In fact, everybody, just take a moment and close your eyes for a second. And just picture a field of quivering energy. There's no beginning to this field of quivering energy. There's no end to this field of quivering energy. And in that field is all you need. to bring into your mind, into your form, into your vehicle, to create that which you want. It's there. It never depletes. Whenever you take it out for your mind, for your desire, it just replenishes itself. You can open your eyes. One of the things that Ernest Holmes was famous for saying is, love points the way, the law makes it possible. Now, when we think of love, you and I, we often think of the energy between two people. We think of beloved love. Sometimes we think of community love, agape love, all kinds of different love. That's not what he's talking about. He's not talking about the love of one person toward another or toward a group of people. What he's talking about is desire. Desire points the way, the law makes it possible. If I could have re-edited his book, I would have changed it at the writing so that he would have written, desire points the way, the law makes it possible. See, there's some things you'll have to do after you have this desire and you take it from the great field, the great potential field, and put it in your mind. Your mind is what forms it, and it can form anything that you want. There is no limit to what it can form. The only limit is in your mind, what you can put a container around, how you can make it look. But there's no limit to that. You can do anything you want to do. But not only do you have to have the desire, and honestly, if there's anybody in the church this morning who doesn't have a desire or whose desire is not clear, get in Reverend Brenda's workshop today, because that will help you have the desire that creates the container for you to bring the energy of God into manifestation. It's amazing to me, and I suffer from this as well, thinking I need a miracle. I actually don't need a miracle. What I need is a clear enough desire and a willingness to know that God will not say no to me, but only say yes to me in my life. So, well, Reverend Georgia, what about selfish desires? We actually at this church don't think there are any selfish desires. We don't believe in selfish desires. We think every desire you have is a desire that can in fact not only up-level you, but it can up-level other people around you. So if I see you getting healthier, that's simply, it's your personal desire for your body, but I see it and I want some of that. And it uplifts the whole world. So, in fact, the whole 12-step program is built on that whole notion that when one person uplifts, we help another person and another person and another person, all from the selfish desire of wanting to get our life better. I did not join any recovery group to help anybody else. I joined to stay out of jail and get a little better life going on in my life and have a job. Now, the question, however, is often asked, will all my desires make me happy? No, they won't. They will not. Some of your desires will not make you happy. And I know each one of you have a desire that you acted on, that became manifest, and it was not a happy deal. I have had several in my life that fit that description. So not every desire might make you happy, but every desire will make you move along on your spiritual journey. It will push you along. So it will make you gooder, it will make you better, it just might not make you happy in your life. M.L. King had a desire. He had a desire to have a country in which people were judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. And his desire started a whole movement that have helped people way after he's dead. Now, are we there yet? No, we're not there yet, but we've moved along because of a desire. All of us need to have some kind of a desire. Now, will there be work to do after you have your desire in your mind? Yeah, there will be work But this chapter, chapter 3, is just about having the desire itself. The last chapter in the book is called How to Use It. Well, okay, now I know there's a field of pure potentiality. All I have to do is create a vision in my mind, which is the container. Once I create that container in my mind, the energy comes in to fill the container and make it manifest. And if I don't have any limiting beliefs that throws it away, then I'm in good shape. But how do I do that? How do I do that? Well, Ernest Holmes says this. One of the ways to do it is to fill your mind with calm expectation. Fill your mind with calm expectation. So that when something happens, you get fired, instead of totally reacting, you learn, you train yourself. I'm not there yet. I still have my, but you train yourself to have calm expectation. A mind filled, you get a diagnosis, you're walking out of the doctor's office, you don't know which way to turn, you fill your mind with calm expectation. You train yourself to do that. Your husband at 20 years walks out the door, oh my God, calm expectation. Well, that's all real good, Reverend Georgia, but how do I do that in the midst of all that? We have a way of teaching prayer here called spiritual mind treatment. Now, as I said at 9 o'clock, if there's anybody in this church who goes to another church and you hear a minister like this, and you hear a minister say, spiritual mind treatment is the only way to pray, you walk out the door. And if they say, where are you going? You said, Reverend Georgia said I should leave now. Because it's not the only way to pray. But I will say this, it has changed my life. Spiritual mind treatment is a powerful technique to pray. I don't have time, I take 10 weeks to teach spiritual mind treatment, but Reverend Brenda has developed a spiritual mind treatment builder. And I put one in everybody's bulletin, and I encourage you to take it home. And if you don't have a thing going on in your life right now, keep it close. So that every time, the next time you get news that's going, you think, oh, calm expectancy, that's what I'm doing right now. Get your treatment builder out and just fill it out. It's a way of creating an atmosphere in your own consciousness that allows you to understand that if you've got bad news, the answer to bad news is good news. And the way to good news is through your mind, and only through your mind. We are so receptive these days to having other people entertain us and have other people solve our problems. But if you really want to change, if you really want to shift, if you really want an improvement in your life, we have to do it ourselves, because God works through us in our life. Let's take this message into prayer. Knowing that there's one power, it's the power of love, and it runs right through me. And I'm so grateful for that. If I just get my little being out of the way, my little ego, my little nervousness, my little fear out of the way, and just let love pass through, then life becomes sweet and doable. I give thanks for that. I release this word into the law, and together we say,